Alright. Welcome to Sideboard MTG. My name's Eric, and tonight I've got a deck tech for you. We're going to be running this in a stream in a little while, but I thought I would get the actual deck tech out for you guys so you can take a look at it. And the deck is just really sweet. It was run by Jim Davis in Star City Games Dallas, and even though his team didn't, top 8, so we didn't actually get a chance to look at the deck. You know me, I'm not going to let any good piece of jank go by without getting a chance to see it. So make sure you tune in for the live gameplay. We're going to be playing some MTG with this deck, and let's take a look at it. Now, first off, you might see in the preview panel right there, Arc of Araska. Yes, this deck can turn 4 turn this on, and I think we'll just start with that nut draw that Jim Davis calls it. If you can compass on 2, which is a thing, you can go turn 2 compass. You can then go turn 3, either play Gift of Paradise or play a Spring to Mine. Now, Spring to Mine will give you your 4th permanent, 5th permanent. Then at that point, your next turn, you untap, play a land, 6th permanent, grab 2 more lands, 7, 8, make 2 zombies, 9, 10. And most of the time you can get away with one of those lands being the Arc, so your Arc is online, you've got some zombies, and it's just a really good, really fast way to get everything online. You're also untapping with enough mana to cast Approach on turn 5, and you've got quite a bit of defense up. Now, did I mention that you have 7 lands and you're having untapped Thematic Compass at that point? So on turn 4, we can have an untapped Thematic Compass, 2 zombies, and a draw engine. Wow. Alright, so if it doesn't go off on turn 4, if you get most of that on turn 5, it's still very, very good. If you take a turn off to settle the wreckage or something like that, or even turn 4 fumigate, can be very, very good. And this deck can do that. So let's take a look at the lands that make this deck tick, because there's a lot of deserts, and it's very important to have those deserts. Now, Desert of the Indomitable, we can cycle it, but it also enters the battlefield tapped. That is something to note, and even though it enters the battlefield tapped, you can cycle it. So extra effect there. I kind of like it. It's better than some things that we could be playing. Hash Up Oasis as one of, along with one of Sheffet Dunes and one of Scavenger Grounds. Now, the bulk of the deserts are made up of Ipnu Rivulet, and it is actually possible to start milling out your control opponents. Now, the rest of the deck, a lot of cycle lands, and we've got a few fast lands here in the Botanical Sanctums, but for the most part, the deserts are there to turn on Hour of Promise, and most of the time you are going to get those zombies out of Hour of Promise, so that part's really cool. Now, as far as interaction goes, we've got a lot, actually. We've got Baffling In, which is, one of the newer cards from Rivals of Ixalan, and Baffling In exiles the card. It's just gone. The creature is gone. Even if they can get rid of the Baffling In, they only get back a 3/3 Dino token. Does have Trample, though. I've yet to see someone actually get the Dino, so maybe a River's Rebuke or something, they would get some Dinos, but either way, we've got 3 copies of Baffling In the main board. I think there's a 4th in the sideboard, if I read that correctly. And then Essence Scatter here. Awesome card. Awesome card. I can see using it, even though this deck is a tap-out deck, a sorcery speed deck. By having an Essence Scatter, there's a lot of turns, especially in the early turns, where you just have nothing to do until like turn 3 or 4. And Essence Scatter being a turn 2 counterspell is just really, really good. Most of the time, in my experience, you kind of want to just fire this off because you're not going to have a lot of chance to hold up mana later until much later in the game, where Essence Scatter is also really good again. Search for Azcanta, not the quickest flip in this deck, but gives you a lot of reach, and when you start digging, if you do get to flip one of these, there is that period of inevitability that once your deck gets to rolling, you're going to get to these, so, pretty good there. And Let's turn that music down just a little bit more, shall we? Okay, so next here we have Gift of Paradise. Gives you a little bit of life, gives you a little bit of ramp. I do recommend trying to put this on a basic land because Field of Ruin can't hit basic lands. Other than that, though, you know, if you can get this down on turn 4 and leave up the land, you have 2 mana open, and that's a pretty good little trick, especially if you're holding something like Essence Scatter, or you want to drop down a Compass or an Azcanta or something. So, also, in the 4 mana, here's where everything starts getting really sweet. We've got Cast Outs, Ixalan's Bindings, 3 Ixalan's Bindings, and then 3 Settle the Wreckage. So a lot of interaction right there where you can interact with even those red decks and those really hard to kill creatures like the Scarab God and pretty much any of the gods for that matter. Fumigate here as a 3 of, I like it. I could, there's been a couple games that I've run into where I actually wanted a 4th Fumigate, but I seem to pull through anyway, so I guess 3 is the right number. I've had a really good record since I've been playing this deck, and it's been coming through really smooth for me. Hour of Promise here, really the heart of the deck. Man, I didn't realize how good this card is until you're turning on Ascend on turn 4 and you're just doing all these crazy things, and then you can cast Approach if you want to. I mean, like, when wouldn't you not want to? But most of the time you easily just get off your Approach on 5 or 6 real easily. And then by the time you get to 7 or 8, you're recasting Approach. And the deck definitely has the means to dig through the 7 cards to get you back to the Approach. Now, one of the cards that I really like in this deck, and that is Spring to Mind. Now, this is turn 3, go ahead and ramp. That gives you that turn 4 hour. And if you got down a 2-drop, then you're set for your Ascend. But turn 3, Spring to Mind, really, really good. And then it just kind of sets in the graveyard. You don't worry about it until later, and then you've got this instant speed Mine. Draw 2 cards, instant speed. I don't care that it's 6 mana. Most of the time you're going to have so much land in this deck, it just doesn't matter. And it's just the perfect card for this deck. So definitely got to give props to Jim Davis and his team that worked on this. Now, in the sideboard here, we've got some really cool cards. A couple copies of Carnage Tyrant and 4 it's just standard for these Approach decks to have these Regal Caracols. There are 4 in this deck. And there's that other Baffling End I was talking about. Whole play set of those if you count the whole 75. And then Fragmentize. I like Frag. Frag is really good. Fragmentize, most of those enchantments that you want to deal with are 4 mana or less. Gets Cast Outs, Ixalan's Bindings, all of the other good stuff. 3 copies of Negate, 2 Jace's Defeat. I'm starting. This card is really, really starting to grow on me. And then the last thing here, Desert's Hold. If you're going to be running that many deserts, gotta run Desert's Hold. So that's my deck tech. If you liked it, hit that like button, share it. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you in the live gameplay.